say you were a project. He did not say. Guys, how have we dropped this low? Oh my god.
What the happened? Hey!
Guys, this episode, the best. Out of 6 through 8, 8 is the one. I have so many thoughts. I have so much that I want to say. So let's just I just want to talk about it. Let's just get straight into it because a lot, and I mean a lot, happened in this episode that I literally had to stop and rewind to see if what I heard was correct. And project, he said project. Okay, let's get into it. So the episode starts off with Bliss's answer to Zach's proposal, which was, she said yes. Am I surprised? No. I don't really know if I was surprised. I can't tell if this is for TV or not, to be completely honest, because Bliss gives me a really interesting vibe because she doesn't really give a lot of emotion on her face. She's very dry, straight face. So it's really hard for me to tell absolutely anything about how she's feeling, to be completely honest. But she says yes, and she says she's going to trust her intuition. He basically tells her he knew he was going to propose the moment he got back from Mexico. He knew that he wanted to be with her. They both genuinely say that they felt this connection and that they know in their soul that they were meant for each other. She knew that she was meant to meet him and that he was the one. I said, really? I mean, if that's what your heart says, I can't. It's just what I'm seeing on screen. It's just not transitioning really well. That's all I'm thinking. But good for them. Hope this works out. Then we go to Paul meeting Micah's parents. I found it very interesting. A lot of the parents were meeting in very social settings. I don't remember if that happens often. I feel like they always meet them in their homes and stuff. But this season has been very much of let's meet at this bar somewhere or this restaurant somewhere. So I'm like, all right, I guess no one wants to meet in their home. But she explains to them the process and literally just says, and I'm engaged. And they were just like, oh, okay. Again, very nonchalant. Not one person has not one parent. And with the previews coming up, I think it's going to happen. But not one parent has said, I'm a little bit concerned. You just met this person. Are you sure? Let me talk to my parent on the side. There hasn't been that either. Usually, the mom or the dad will talk to the kid privately. That hasn't happened, so I found that kind of interesting. But they basically explain to them, how they're going to live, their thoughts on kids, and how they seem to be on board. And yeah, the parents are on board too, and they approve of Paul. Paul, who is also the name of Micah's dad, says that he really likes him and approves. And I was like, wow, these people really go lucky. Just no. Okay. We need extra time to talk about what we're going to talk about in this next section. Because, guys, I was absolutely astonished at what I was hearing from both of these people. And in this moment, I knew this relationship is toxic AF and cannot continue. It cannot continue. And I know a lot of people were talking about it in my first episode's comments and my comment section in the first episode. And I've also heard it in other reviews as well about Marshall and how they felt that he could have red flags. And I just haven't seen any red flags to this point. But y'all, this episode really, really highlighted those red flags bad. And
I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. How dare you?
Oh my God. Okay, let's get into it. So Marshall pretty much starts off his little by saying, you can see he's taking his bags out of a car, and obviously at this point you're like, shit, what happened? Something obviously happened. And he's just like, oh, my relationship with Jackie right now, I would say, is bleak. Literally said it's bleak is how he would put their relationship. And basically we found out that she told him to boss up and that he was not being man enough. And I remember seeing this in the preview and I'm like, oh man, is this about sex? It is. But he says that when she told him that it hurt him really much, and that instead of blowing up in the moment he just decided to leave. So now he's coming back to this apartment, or he left to go back to his apartment, but now he's coming back to their apartment and he doesn't know where they stand. So he gets to the apartment and Jackie's in there pretty much in the closet, like packing her stuff out. And he's like, oh, are you packing? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, why? She's like, I'm not playing this game with you. I'm not playing these games with you. And he's like, what game? Like, what are you talking about? She basically tells him, like, you know, like, I just need you. And she's like, I'm not playing games. She's like, oh, well, you wanted to leave instead of talk to me. He's like, well, why do I want to stay with someone who says that I'm not man enough, that I'm not bossing up enough? She's like, oh, I was just trying to tell you to be more aggressive. Like, we're not having sex. We don't have sex. And I said, oh, God, so this is about the bedroom. Like, you guys are having this much of a fight about your sex time in the bedroom? I was like, guys, is this necessary? Really, like, this isn't a conversation you could have had, like, a little bit nicer. But I mean, obviously, like, you can't tell a guy you're not being man enough. You need to be more aggressive in the bedroom. Like, touch me, do something to excite me. I was like, girl, I understand in that moment why I would be Marshall and be really upset and want to leave and, like, just be upset. But instead of, like, yelling at someone, you were just like, I need my time. Like, I get that. I'm gonna get my words right here. I understood Marshall's reasoning to be upset with that. Not cool. Don't say that to a person. But then, guys, this is when it gets real toxic up in here. So Marshall's like, I just want to talk to you, you know, peacefully. And he goes on to tell her that he saw her as in the pods and he really liked her and he saw her as a project. He saw her as a project. He saw potential in her. He said project. Basically, he wanted someone he could fix. And this is when it is not a good relationship. You are in this relationship because you see the flaws that this person has and you want to fix them. That's bad. But the fact that he said, I saw you as a project. How? I mean, that is, I don't know what's worse. Comment down below, guys. Please let me know your thoughts. Because I know you guys, my friends. I know my family, you guys. I know you're going to let me know how you feel in the comments. Please let me know what you thought about this situation. Who do you think is in the wrong here? I personally think they're both in the wrong. That this is a toxic AF relationship. But please comment down below. But he says, he calms himself down. He goes up. He's like, I didn't mean to say you were a project. There's a lot of emotions running high here. What I meant to say is that, I saw potential in you and that this is a woman I want to empower and I want to help uplift her. And I said, you said, at this point, I couldn't see, I was like, really? You couldn't think of a better word to use than project in this moment? He laid his cards out when he said that. And this is when I feel like it became a manipulation, where he kind of turned the tables and kind of made her forget what he had said and how it's not right that he said that. Because all he says is just like, I fucking love you. And the moment he said that to her, it made her forget what he had just said. And what does she do? She breaks down. She starts crying. I thought she was going to leave. And instead, she goes up to him, hugs him, and apologizes and says that she didn't mean to hurt him. Guys, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this, but I don't feel good. This relationship cannot progress. It is extremely, extremely toxic. Literally, I need a moment. I liked you, Marshall. That's so upsetting. I really did not want to see this. I did not want to see this. Anyway, we're moving on to Brett and Tiffany. They're on a little walk. Tiffany saying she's a little bit stressed with everything that's going on with prepping for the wedding, and he says that he's not stressed at all because he knows he's gonna marry her and that he wants to be with her. He says he feels confident, and they continue to see how much they love each other. And again, guys, how do they not get married? How do they not? If they don't get married, I keep saying this in every single episode. If they don't get married, I just don't. I wouldn't understand. Like, it would literally be left field if they did not get married. It would either they're editing this way too much for it to be all of a sudden a crazy change, or it really is just going to be this swift till the end. Because I can't believe that they don't get married. I'd be shocked. Okay, so then we have Bliss and Zach moving into the apartments as well, where everyone else is living. And again, it's being brought up about her being the second choice, and she still having to come to grips with this. And guys, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like this is gonna drag on forever, and it's just gonna be the highlight of their relationship the whole time. And I feel like I understand where she's coming from. Like, trust me, I get it. Like, no one wants to be felt like the second choice, but she brings it up every other sentence. Every other time they're talking about their feelings, she just continues to talk about how it's hard for her to get over her being the second choice. And I said, I get it, but the more you do that, the more it's going to start to piss him off, because then he's going to be like, yeah, but I came back to you. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Zach said this stupid thing where he was like, well, she wasn't you're not the second choice. I'm like, yes, you proposed to someone else. Because he was like saying, no, second choice would be like if I was still thinking about going back to Arena. I said, no. No. A second choice is the second person you chose. And you didn't choose her first. So she is your second choice. Don't try to sugarcoat it, Zach. We know you picked the wrong person, but don't not admit that she is your second choice. She was the second choice. So they kind of have a little bickering moment. It doesn't escalate, but they do have a little moment of a little bit of a bicker, and it gets a little awkward. Just a little bit. So then we have Kwame and Chelsea, and this is when new things are starting to come out to light about our relationship here. They're bathing her little dog, and Kwame's like, yeah, that's like her child or our child, whatever. So Chelsea starts talking about kids, and they basically just don't see eye to eye. Because you can just see that I think they're just in very different places of their life. I don't know what Kwame does for a living, to be honest. We can tell he's very used to living a very free lifestyle, playing soccer with his friends, like not being tied down in that way. And Chelsea's last time I said older woman, and someone said, she's not old, she's just 30. I mean, in terms of this show, she's not 23, 24 years old who's like, oh, I can wait forever. She's in her 30s. Guys, I'm in my 30s, so I would consider myself an older woman who's ready to have kids. That is what I mean when I say older woman, is like she's just, ready to settle down. She wants to have kids in like 3 to 4 years, and she asks him like, oh, like, are you like not ready to settle down? And he's like, no, I am, but he just feels like he wants to live more together before they have kids. And she's just like, yeah, but like you can take kids on airplanes, like you can take trips with we can hire a nanny, like it's not that we can't do those things. And he's like, yeah, but like once you have kids, things change. And don't get me wrong, he's right. Once you have a child, like your life will change. It's no longer you'll be able to do whatever you want. Like you have a child now. It's very different. So I get it. But he does, start to say that he feels like he is compromising more in their relationship because he's the one that has to move from Portland and all of these things, and he just feels like he's compromising more. And she's like, well, that's marriage. And I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be an issue. It's gonna be an issue. It's gonna turn out to be an issue for sure. It's gonna come up again. I'm positive it will be. And again, this just gives me more vibes that I feel like Kwame will say no and Chelsea will say yes, or I hope Chelsea says no, but maybe I don't know. I just keep thinking more and more as this episode progressed, more and more I was like, Kwame definitely, I mean, not that I didn't think he was gonna say no before, but I still think he's more saying no than he is saying yes at this point. Oh, and this was another good moment of this episode, guys. Oh my god. this was this conversation. So we have Paul meeting Micah's friends for the first time, and my God. So we have both of her friends. We have one, I think her name was Michaela, and the other one's called Shelby. And Michaela asks, like, how serious are you? And Paul's, like, kind of quiet at first. And I'm like, sir, like, please say something. Why are you not saying anything? And he's like, well, you know, I did go on a show to find love. And I want to get married. So, yeah, this is pretty serious. And I'm like, okay, good. Then we have the other friend, and the name Shelby. And I will tell you up right now, this girl was intoxicated. Like, it's very obvious that she was very intoxicated. And just a bit much. And Paul was not having it. Basically, you know, she kind of continues to, like, Micah tells Paul, like, oh, this is my friend Shelby. Like, she's the one who's always, like, you know, really grilled my boyfriends and, like, will tell me, like, if he's the right one for me and all of this stuff, right? So there's already pressure on this Shelby to, like, technically be the one to impress in order to, like, you know, if you pass Shelby's tests, then you're good enough to be with Micah, kind of thing, right? And she pretty much just kind of, like, rubs Paul the wrong way, like, kind of, like, makes jokes at him, but it's kind of rude, and, like, she doesn't understand, like, the way he speaks, because he is, like, a scientist, so he does speak very, like, eloquently, and she's just kind of, like, what? Like, I don't get it, kind of situation. And she basically says, like, at one point, she's just like, oh, like, I might say something bitchy to you later on. Like, no, like, it will happen. And Micah's just like, oh, she gets easily angered. And Paul says, well, I can't say that I care. I say,
Well,
Paul. I don't disagree with you, Paul. I don't think you should care. Like, in my opinion, I don't think he cared. I don't think he needed to care either, but Micah did not like that he said that. And I was like, but why should he care? Like, she should, like, he's not there to marry her and to impress her to marry her. He's there to be with Micah. Like, yeah, I guess you could care, like, what she says about you, but just don't take it personally. But Micah says, well, if you don't care, then that's a major issue. I was like, okay, you can make your own decisions. You don't need your friends there to tell you who you should and should not date, number one. But he basically says, no, it's not that. He's like, basically what I'm saying is that I'm not going to take it personally. And he shouldn't take it personally. And if he doesn't want to care what she says, then he doesn't have to. Like, he's not there to marry her. He's there to marry Micah. But you can tell that this Shelly person is incredibly intoxicated, which is why I couldn't take any of this conversation seriously. Because I feel like if this was not at nighttime, not taking shots, not none of this stuff, who knows how long they've been drinking before they got there. If this was just like a normal walk through the park day, no one's drinking anything, I don't think she would have acted like that, this friend. But because there was drinks involved, it definitely got a little bit chaotic, in my opinion. Paul goes to the bathroom, and Shelby tells Micah that she doesn't like him and that he's 100% not it for her. Feels like he isn't the one for her and that she deserves more. She's, like, crying. She's like, you're my best friend. I'm like, you are so drunk. And because of that, I cannot take what you're saying seriously. I can't take your reasoning seriously. Like, she's been talking to this guy for, like, 5 minutes, and in those 5 minutes, she's like, no, he's not it. You were being rude to him. He wasn't backing down. Like, it just wasn't right. I think Shelby was in the wrong here. I don't think Paul was. I think Paul was genuinely just trying to, like, answer the questions and, like, just be nice. And she was kind of being a little bitchy to him. I'm not going to lie. Like, so I just couldn't take her seriously. But my God, what a scene. What a scene. So then that night we have a party for Chelsea. It's Chelsea's birthday, or not that night, another night or whatever. We have a party for Chelsea to celebrate her birthday. Everyone is there. Everyone shows up from, like, the pod, not from the pod. Well, yeah, we do have some extra people from the pod show up. We have, like, Amber show up, and which is a little bit awkward for Paul at one point, but they don't really talk. You have Josh show up, and my God, do I have shit to say about this man. God, it's so annoying. Josh show up, Bliss and Zach show up as an engaged couple, and everybody's like, oh my god. So very nice, and everyone's like there. Then we have Bliss and Micah who have a talk, and they end up talking about Arena and what happened in Mexico, and Micah tells Bliss, how wrong it was for Arena to, to go after Paul that way, and how, like, it was weird because, like, they were really good friends, like, how she could do that for her, and whatever. They kind of talk about that. And then you have Brett and Marshall talking, and Marshall confides in Brett and tells him what happened. Because, at this point, Marshall has arrived, but he came without Jackie. So everybody was like, oh, man, what happened? Why aren't they together? But Marshall tells Brett what happened and how, he had a falling out. And I was like, wait, falling out? I was like, I thought they patched it up. Did something else happen? Or was this like the next day where it was still kind of weird? I don't know. But he tells them that he had a falling out and he doesn't know what to do. Because, he explains the whole story, which you've already seen. So there's no point in explaining it. But Jackie gets there by herself. And this is where, like, it gets really awkward. And I just was like, I don't know how I feel about this. But Marshall was like, they say hi to each other. And then Marshall's like, here, like, take my jacket. It was like, really weird. He, like, forces her to take his jacket. And she's like, no, I don't need it. And he's just like, no, take my jacket. I don't want you to get a cold. And, like, literally forces her to put his jacket on. I did not like that. Don't know why that was, like, being forced on her. And it gave me very much of controlling vibes, and I did not like it. He's like, I don't want you to catch a cold. But it was just kind of weird because she just, like, came up to him and to say hello, and then he was like, did you want my jacket? It was just like, sir, she didn't ask for your jacket. Did I miss where she was like, I'm really cold. Can I have your jacket? Like, it was weird. Did I miss something? Comment down below if I missed something, because I was very confused. Then Josh is there, right? And he's been there this whole time, and he's, like, really weird. He's, like, chatting it up with everybody, but he's just a weird character. Especially, he seems very, like, out of the blue to me because we didn't really get to know him in the pods to begin with. He got very little screen time, so the fact that he's even there, like, we know that is a producer plant, without a doubt. He is there to stir up the pot, to start drama, to make something happen, because they were like, okay, well, what will happen if we bring Josh in when we know that Marshall and Jackie are on the rocks? Let's put him in and see what happens. That's what producers do. So, evil, but good for TV, but evil. So he, like, tries to kind of go and, like, flirt with Jackie while she's there, and then there's a moment where he goes to Marshall and he's just like, oh, what's up, man? Like, oh, we were after the same girl, oh, no, I wouldn't do that because I love you, man. I love you. Like, weird. And
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
even, like, when he walks away, Marshall's like, what the fuck just happened? Because it's just a weird interaction. And, yeah, myself, I don't know. I don't understand what is intoxication. Drinks. That is what's happening. We all know. But, guys, this oh my God, another moment in this episode where I was like, what in the actual hell?
Again. A fucking again.
So Kwame and Micah end up chatting again. And, guys, anytime these two are in the room, I'm just not understanding why this is going on. Move the F on. Move on. You have both chosen your people. Guys, again, they were talking to each other about the pods and how they had such an amazing connection. And then Kwame asks her, like, do you think you made the right decision? I said, sir, I can't give you any more passes. For a little bit there, I was trying to see if he could be redeemed, and he just keeps making it bad. And I can't support this behavior anymore. I cannot. It really peeved me. I'm like, why are you asking that? Why? It's because you yourself are insecure. You yourself don't feel like you made the right decision in picking Chelsea to be your wife. Could that be it? But he asks her that, and then the crazy thing is Micah does not shut it down, and this is where it's not good, because she does not shut it down. She does not say, yes, I made the right choice. Paul is the guy for me. Instead, she entertains the idea of, like, I'm not sure, but I'm hopeful. You say that to Kwame, and Kwame takes that as like, oh, I might have a chance then if I don't say no to Chelsea, you know? I feel like that's what was going on in his mind. And then she goes like, oh, well, why did you ask me that? And he just kind of like awkwardly laughs, like, like his laugh that he does to like, it's a laugh that he puts on to not disassociate, but to change the subject or to make it seem like, oh, we're not going to talk about it. Ha ha ha. It's like a deflection. There we go. That's the word. He deflects by laughing. But they both talk about how they still care about each other. She says this one quote. I'm like, what? She literally says, oh, you know, I am always thinking about you and I worry about you and I'm always thinking about if you're happy. And I'm like, what?
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Why are you saying this? You're engaged to freaking Paul. What in the actual hell? Like, why are we still talking about the pods? It's been weeks. Why are we talking about the pods? I can't. And that's in this moment, I was like, he is definitely saying no at the altar. I don't think she should say yes. I hope to God she does not say yes or he says no. Whatever it is, these relationships cannot go on because this conversation happened. And it's just wrong. And then what upsets me the most is that Micah keeps telling Kwame, you were my number one. You were my number one. And I was like, yeah, well, if he was your number one, why didn't you choose him? It's the same thing with Bliss and Zach. If she was your number one, why didn't you choose her? Because she wasn't. And that's okay if they weren't your number one. But don't tell them that you were your number one and then you're engaged to someone else. How does that make any sense, people? How? We're moving on. We're moving on to the end of this episode. So we have Josh who decides he wants to talk to Jackie privately. Again, this man is intoxicated and he's just all over the place. Like, he's here, he's there, he's like close to her, not close to her. And he's like trying to get into her head and try to figure out like if there's something there that there could possibly be. And it just rubs in the wrong way because not even 2 minutes ago he was going to Marshall being like, oh no, I'm not going to talk to your girl. Like, I wouldn't do that to you if you guys are good. Like, and then he's going and talking to her and trying to figure out what's going on in her head so he can slide into the DMs. You know, like, dude, he needs to go. The dude needs to go. I do not like this guy. Like I said, we did not even have enough time with him in the pods. So I definitely don't care about you. I know nothing about you. You were here as a producer plant to cause and stir the pot. And I don't need this. I literally do not need this. Guys, I'm over. That was the end of the episode, guys. That was the end of episode 8. Oh, I was so angry throughout most of that episode, and that is what I loved because it gives me so much to talk about with you guys in the comments. Please comment down below what you thought about this episode because, my God, so much happened. Am I right? My gosh. I cannot wait for the next 3 episodes next Friday. It's going to be crazy. The preview showed, like, you know, the girls getting ready with their dresses, more of, like, Marshall and Jackie talking about Josh and all that stuff. We have this. Oh, we also have Zach meeting Bliss's parents. Obviously, her dad, you can see, is very at odds, not approving this relationship, which I think seems like it's going to be like the only relationship that's really shown. I mean, parental conversation that is shown that where the families are not in agreement, which it's about time we had one, right? We still haven't met Tiffany or Brett's parents, so I don't know if that's going to happen at some point, but interested in seeing that. We do have a really quick Tiffany crying at the altar. I'm pretty sure she's crying because he just said something beautiful in the vows. Must be that, or she's crying because she's like, I can't imagine being with anyone else. Has to be something like that because I refuse to believe that they are not together today. Refuse to believe it, guys. Refuse. But anyway, guys, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I'm going to continue to recap the whole of the season. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, I recommend you watch these videos right over here. And if you're a returning subscriber, it's so nice to see you again. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye!